السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله واهب الأقول، وصلى الله وسلم على نبيه والرسول وعلى آله وصحبه ومن اتبع سنته في الفروع والأصول. أما بعد, so this is the third gathering on 17th of Rajab 1440, corresponding to 23rd of March 2019, for the explanation of the first book, Sullam الوصول إلى مباحث علم الأصول, from our course on Wusool. And we have to begin with فصل في بيان ضد التوحيد وهو الشرك، وأنه ينقسم إلى قسمين، أصغر وأكبر، وبيان كل منهما. Yes, Faraz. Yes, the poet, he says here, فصل في بيان ضد التوحيد وهو الشرك. After explaining Tawheed and its two categories, the poet goes on to mention its opposite, and that is shirk, as he mentioned. And in the deen, it is necessary to clarify what is good, along with clarifying what is bad. And it is not sufficient that a person limits himself and his dawah to clarifying and calling towards good. So it should be combination of calling towards good and denouncing the evil. That is why the Sharia came with the Shahada of Ikhlas La ilaha illallah, which comprises of an-nafyu wal-ithbat. There is negation and affirmation. And this negation and affirmation, it cannot be completely understood without having a good understanding of what is shirk. And it is necessary to know what the evil is to protect oneself from it. Because the one who does not know the evil, there are high chances that he might fall into it thinking it to be good. He says, وَأَنَّهُ يَنْقَسِمُ إِلَى قِسْمَيْنِ أَصْغَرُ وَأَكْبَرُ وَبَيَانِ كُلٍّ مِّنْهُمَا. So, shirk, it is divided into two parts. Asghar wa Akbar, major and minor. It is divided on the basis of the punishment in the hereafter and the ruling in this dunya. It is divided on the basis of the punishment in the hereafter and the ruling in this dunya. He says, وَالشِّرْكُ نَوْعَانِ فَشِرْكٌ أَكْبَرُ. Shirk is of two types. The first one being shirk al-akbar, bihi khulud al-nari idh la yakfiru. He says, the one who commits shirk al-akbar, for him will be punishment in the fire forever, because it will never be forgiven. And he defines it saying وَهُوَ اتِّخَاذُ الْعَبْدِ غَيْرَ اللَّهِ نِدًّا بِهِ مُسَوِّيًا مُضَاهِ. And it is when a slave takes other than Allah a rival, مُسَوِّيًا مُضَاهِ, مُسَوِّيًا meaning equal, مُضَاهِ yani a match, a rival, who takes a partner to Allah, making him equal and rival to him. The Shaykh says يقصده عند نزول الضر لجلب خير أو لدفع الشر. The one who commits shirk al-akbar, he takes other than Allah as his Lord when he intends and seeks protection at the time of evil, and the نزول الضر لجلب خير أو لدفع الشر, or to gain benefit or to repel evil or any harm. أو عند أي غرض لا يقدر عليه إلا الملك المقتدر. He says أو عند أي غرض لا يقدر, or for anything that no one is capable of fulfilling other than Al-Malik Al-Muqtadir, the one who is the king, Allah Azza wa Jal, Al-Muqtadir, the one who is capable of doing everything, Al-Qadir. مع جعله لذلك المدعو أو المعظم أو المرجو. He says مع جعله لذلك المدعو, what he does is that he gives him the authority, the one who is calling upon, or the one who is mu'azzam to him, the one who he glorifies in his heart, أو المرجوي, or the one from who he hopes, who he keeps hope in his heart that he would answer the prayer. في الغيب سلطانا به يطلع على ضمير من إليه يفزع. في الغيب سلطانا به يطلع. He thinks that he has the ability, he has the knowledge of the ghaib about the one to who he expresses his fear. Man ilayhi yafza'u. So this is shirk al-akbar, that the author mentioned, and this is very comprehensive, and each line, it needs a lot of sharh. But shirk al-akbar, its definition is جعل شيء من عبادة جعل شيء من عبادة الله لغيره يزول به أصل الإيمان. جعل شيء من عبادة الله لغيره يزول به أصل الإيمان. Giving any of your ibadah to other than Allah in such a way that you lose all your iman, you lose the very foundation of your iman.
Can you repeat?
جعل شيء من عبادة الله لغيره يزول به أصل الإيمان. So the poet, he mentioned the punishment for shirk al-akbar, it is به خلود nari إذ لا يغفر. Such a person who commits shirk al-akbar, he would have khulud al-nar, he will stay in the fire forever, yani he would not be removed out of the hellfire. Yani he would not be removed out of the hellfire, he will stay there forever. And the one who will not be removed out from the hellfire, then that person of course will never enter Jannah. And he defines it saying niddan bihi musawwiya mudahi. He takes other than Allah Azza wa Jal musawwiya. Musawwiya means equal. You know, we say in Saudi, you know, sawa sawa, same same. You know, sawi, sawa sawa. And the Imam, he says in Salah, sawu sufufakum, yani make it equal. make it straight. So that is what is musawwiya. And Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned in the Quran and the statement of the Jahannamiyun, they would say, Tallahi in kunna fi dhalali mubin id nusawwikum bi rabbil alameen. Tallahi in kunna fi dhalali mubin id nusawwikum bi rabbil alameen. By Allah, we were in a clear deviance. Id nusawwikum bi rabbil alameen. When we used to equal Allah Azza wa Jal, the Lord of the worlds, with you all, the idols. And mudahi, it is a match, it is a rival. And he says, يقصده عند نزول الضر لجلب خير أو لدفع الشر. So when you are expecting something from someone else, either some benefit or some protection from some harm, then you are committing shirk al-akbar. But this is itself not a complete statement, because if you were to say that if you expect protection from some harm or benefit from someone, then it is shirk al-akbar. So if this was generalized and limited to this alone, what it would mean is that a human seeking help from another human who is alive, that is also shirk al-akbar, isn't it? So this statement is not complete, but what completes it is the next line, where the poet, he says, أو عند أي غرض لا يقدر عليه إلا المالك المقتدر. So the one who seeks a benefit or a protection from any evil in such a situation which no one is capable of helping out other than Allah Azza wa Jal, then that person, he has committed shirk al-akbar. Then that person has committed shirk al-akbar. So if you remember these two lines, then you would have a clear understanding of what shirk al-akbar is and what is not shirk in reality. And what Allah is alone capable of is what His rububiyyah and His asma wa sifat has. So in everything which Allah is singled out for His rububiyyah and in His asma wa sifat, then that is something that only Allah is capable of. So for example, the forgiver of sins, it is Allah Azza wa Jal alone, and the one who will give shafa'ah, it is Allah Azza wa Jal alone, and the one who will help out on the day of judgment, that is Allah Azza wa Jal alone, and so on and so forth. So if a person expects something from a person which is specific to Allah Azza wa Jal alone, then it becomes shirk al-akbar. Ilm al-ghayb, only for Allah Azza wa Jal. It is from the khasais of Allah Azza wa Jal. Kul man ya'lamu al-ghayba fi samawati wal ard lillah. Other than Allah Azza wa Jal, who knows the ghayb of samawati wal ard? So this makes it clear what shirk al-akbar is. And he adds by saying that مع جاله لذلك المدعو أو المعظم أو المرجو. So shirk al-akbar, it also includes when either the one who you are seeking help from, you are either calling upon him, mad'u, yani you're doing dua to him, or you're doing ta'zeem of him in your heart. You have ta'zeem of that person in your heart, so you humble yourself before him, and you expect from him marjui, you expect from him, you put your hope in him. And we mentioned that raja it is for Allah Azza wa Jalla alone and not for anyone else. وَيَرْجُونَ رَحْمَةَ رَبِّكَ, as Allah Azza wa Jalla mentioned in the Quran. So if a person hopes from anyone other than Allah Azza wa Jalla, then that person has committed shirk al-akbar. But just remember that it should be the complete thing in your mind altogether, not a part of it. And if you remember a part of it and forget another part, what you would end up is that you would end up in misapplying the hukm of shirk al-akbar, and you would end up calling or judging few people to be mushrikeen while they are not mushrikeen. So shirk al-akbar, it is جعل شيء من عبادة الله لغيره يزول به أصل الإيمان. Your أصل الإيمان, it goes away. So when the very foundation of your iman, it goes away, whatever remains, it is like as if it is nothing. It is as if it is nothing. Because Allah Azza wa Jal, He mentioned in the Quran Himself that if a person were to commit shirk, then all his deeds would be lost. So this is shirk al-akbar. Then the poet goes on to mention what is shirk al-asghar. Yes, for us.
وثاني شرك الأصغر وهو الرياء فسره به ختام الأنبياء ومنه إقسام لغير الباري كما أتى في محكم الأخبار.
Yes, the poet, he goes on to mention the second category of shirk, and he says والثاني شرك أصغر وهو الرياء فسر به ختام الأنبياء. He says that shirk al-asghar, it is riya, because the Prophet ﷺ said that inna akhwafu ma akhafu alaykum ash-shirk al-asghar. And when the Sahaba asked, Ya Rasulullah, wa ma shirk al-asghar, what is shirk al-asghar? The Prophet ﷺ said, ar-riya, it is ar-riya. And shirk al-asghar, it is defined as shirk al-asghar, it is defined as جعل شيء من عبادة الله لغيره لا يزول به أصل الإيمان. جعل شيء من عبادة الله لغيره لا يزول به أصل الإيمان. Making someone or something, or giving something of your ibadah to other than Allah in such a way that you don't lose the very foundation of your iman. So shirk al-asghar, it is not when you worship other than Allah Azza wa Jal. It is not when you worship other than Allah Azza wa Jal, but it is when
This one is
La yazulu. Yeah, that one was yazulu, this one is La yazulu. So shirk al-asghar, it is, what was I saying? I missed it. Shirk al-asghar, ala kulli, astaghfirullah, I forgot what I was saying. If you miss anything, then we mentioned this earlier in Ta'zeem al-Ilm, that you don't interrupt.
Sorry.
Instead, there is one where you learn from the one who is teaching you. That is what is known as mudarasa. And the second level, it is that you do with your friends, you study with your friends after the class, and that is mudhakara, and that is mudhakara. So whatever you miss in the class, which you were not able to, which you forgot, or you were not able to make your notes, what you should do is that you sit with the other person who attended the class and ask him what is whatever you missed. So that is the correct way of seeking knowledge. Because once I was with one of my mashayikh, and I asked him a question which Sheikh had already discussed it, but I had missed it, so I asked him this thing so that I also get to listen it directly from him. So the Sheikh said that why why is muzakara there, and why do you have companions, and what is the benefit of the companions if you ask me everything? So this is how a student of knowledge does, that he does not keeps himself busy with the sheikh all the time, rather he also busies himself with his companions, the other students of knowledge, along with him in the class. So there are two levels, the mudarasa and then mudakara. We mentioned this in Khulas Tazim al-Ilm. So shirk al-asghar, it is جعل شيء من عبادة الله لغيره لا يزول به أصل الإيمان. He says وهو الرياء without discussing a lot of details, because this is how the Prophet ﷺ interpreted it. And riya, it is one of the many kinds of shirk al-asghar. That is why the poet, he said فَسَّرَهُ بِهِ خِتَامُ الْأَنْبِيَاء. This is how it was interpreted by the last of the prophets. But then he goes on to give more examples of shirk al-asghar by saying وَمِنْهُ إِقْسَامُ بِغَيْرِ الْبَارِ كَمَا أَتَى فِي مُحْكَمِ الْقُرْآنِ كَمَا أَتَى فِي مُحْكَمِ الْأَخْبَارِ. وَمِنْهُ إِقْسَام, meaning doing qasam, making qasam, promise or pledge by other than Allah Azza wa Jal, in the name of other than Allah Azza wa Jal. So you take an oath or a promise by, in the name of your father, or in the name of your mother, or in the name of any other thing that you revere or you honor, like Kaaba or Makkah or the grave of the Prophet, or by the name of a wali. All this is shirk al-asghar, all this is shirk al-asghar, and it can reach shirk al-akbar if a person intends what a believer intends when he takes an oath in the name of Allah. It can reach shirk al-akbar if he intends what he intends for Allah when he takes the oath in the name of Allah. So when you take the oath in the name of Allah, what you intend is that Allah Azza wa Jal is a witness to it, that Allah Azza wa Jal, He is a witness to it, and He is the one who will hold me accountable for fulfilling or not fulfilling this promise. If you intend, when you take an oath, this intention for other than Allah, then that would become shirk al-akbar. كما أتى في محكم الأخبار, as has come in clear narrations, as the Prophet ﷺ, he said, من حلف بغير الله فقد أشرك. من حلف بغير الله فقد أشرك. The person who takes an oath by other than Allah Azza wa Jal, then that person has committed shirk. It is considered to be shirk al-asghar, although the Prophet ﷺ, he said ashrak. It is because there is a qaida for knowing what is shirk al-asghar. There is a qaida for knowing what is shirk al-asghar and not akbar. And that qaida is very important, and it is كل من اتخذ سببا كل من اتخذ سببا لم يدل على الشرع ولا قدر لم يدل عليه الشرع ولا قدر فشرك أصغر. كل من اتخذ سببا لم يدل عليه الشرع ولا قدر فشرك أصغر. وإن اعتقد الفاعل بذاته فشرك أكبر. وإن اعتقد الفاعل بذاته فشرك أكبر. What this qaida, it means is that anyone who takes a cause, sabab, who takes something as a cause while it is not a cause proven either by the Sharia or by Qadr. Qadr, it is whatever is proven by experimentation. Then it becomes Shirkun Asghar. And the examples of it is that a person, he takes a nail cutter and he places it under his bed for his protection. He thinks that if he places the nail cutter under his bed, under his pillow, Allah Azza wa Jal would protect him. He thinks that this is one of the ways of seeking protection. Now this person, he has raised the nail cutter above the level. He took it as a sabab, as a cause of protection, although it is not a cause of protection, not in the eyes of Sharia, nor is it proven from experimentation. So it becomes Shirkun Asghar. You have taken a sabab that is not proven neither in Sharia nor in your experimentation, then it becomes Shirkun Asghar. And if وَإِنْ يَعْتَقَدِ الْفَاعِلْ بِذَاتِهِ فَشِرْكٌ أَكْبَرٌ. And if the doer, he intends protection from it itself, then it becomes Shirk al-Akbar. Meaning, if he thinks that the nail cutter itself, it will protect him, then it will become Shirk al-Akbar. Meaning, he does not think that Allah has made it a cause of protection. He thinks that nail cutter is itself that would protect him. Then that person has committed Shirk al-Akbar. And what is common in India is that a lot of people, in a lot of places, they place a nail cutter or a knife or a small piece of iron or steel under their pillow for the protection of their child, especially when he's born. And this is Shirk al-Asghar. Yes, Faraz.
فصل في بيان أمر يفعلها العامة.
أمور يفعلها العامة.
فصل في بيان أمور يفعلها العامة. منها ما هو شرك ومنها ما هو قريب منه وبيان حكم الرقاء والتمائم. ومن يثق بودعة أو نام أو حلقة أو أعمل ذئاب أو خيط أو عقب من المسور أو وتر أو تربة القبور لأي أمر كائن تعلقه وكله الله إلى ما علقه. ثم الرقى من حمة أو عين فإن تكن من خالص الوحيين فذلك من حد النبي وشرعته وذلك لا اختلاف في سنيته. أما الرقى المجهولة المعاني فذلك وسواس من الشيطان. وفيه قد جاء الحديث أنه شرك بلا مرية فاحذرنه. إذ كل من بداية لعله يكون أو هو من سحر اليهود مقتبس عن العوام فحذرا ثم حذارهم
لا تعرف الحق.
لتعرف الحق وتنأى عنه. وكف ماء
because the poet he goes on to mention some of the things that people are into. He says فصل في بيان أمور يفعلها العامة, chapter concerning some of the actions that the people do. منها ما هو شرك, from it is what is shirk, ومنها ما هو قريب من, and from it is what is close to it, وبيان حكم الرقى والتمائم, and the hukm on ruqya and tamima. He says ومن يثق بودعة أو نابي أو حلقة أو أعين الذياب. He says anyone who puts his trust in wada, it is a shell that you find on the seashores. Wada is the white color, the small pieces, these shells that you find. The people who think that these shells are a cause of protection. So he says وَمَن يَثِقْ بِوَدَةٍ أَوْ نَابِ, and nabi, it is the canine teeth of hyena. So there are a lot of people who think that the canine teeth, the sharp teeth, the big one of hyenas, if they remove out and keep it with themselves, they will somehow protect them. This is the interpretation that the poet did of the word nabi in his explanation of this poem in Ma'aj al-Qubul. And he says أو حلقة. Halqa is a ring. أو أعين الذئاب, and أعين الذئاب, it is the eyes of dhiyab, dhib. Dhib is fox. The eyes of the foxes. There are a lot of people who take out the eyes and they keep it on display in their homes, thinking that somehow it would give them protection. And then he says, mentioning more examples of things that people put their trust on, he says أو خيط أو عدو من النسور. He says أو خيط. Khayt is thread or a piece of cloth or a part of it. Khayt, it is thread or a cloth or a part of it. أو عدو من النسور, and عدو من النسور, عدو is part or an organ from nusur. Nusur, it is the bird eagle. There are a lot of people who take apart an organ from the eagle and they think that it will give them protection, and this is common even in India and Pakistan. People in a lot of places, they do this. أو وتر. Water, it is feather of a bird. People keep it as well, seeking protection. أو تربة القبور. Turba, it is turab. Turba, it is the soil. Turba, it is the soil. تربة القبور, the soil of the graves. The soil of the graves. So people seek protection from the soil of the graves. So they take the soil of the graves of those people who they revere and honor, those who they call awliya, and they rub it over their body, and they do a lot of things with it, seeking benefit and protection from harm. This is all, as he says, لأي أمر كائن تعلق وكله الله إلى ما علق. For whatever reason he puts his trust on him, وكله الله إلى ما علق. Allah will leave him on its protection. Allah will leave him on its protection. So if you seek protection from soil or a ring or a eye or a teeth or a shell or a cloth or any organ or anything, whatever you seek benefit from, Allah will not give you any protection, and He'll leave you on what you think that is going to benefit. وَكَّلَهُ اللَّهُ إِلَى مَا عَلَّقَهُ. And this is there in the narration in Tirmidhi that the Prophet ﷺ, he said, مَنْ تَعَلَّقَ شَيْئًا وُكِلَ إِلَيْهِ مَنْ تَعَلَّقَ شَيْئًا وُكِلَ إِلَيْهِ. There are a lot of dalail in these issues, but the dalail we have already crossed and have gone through one by one, and the expression of Kitab al-Tawheed. So the one who wants may refer back to the notes that you have. لأي أمر كائن تعلق وكله الله إلى ما علق ثم الرقى من حمة أو عين فإن تكن من خالص الوحيين. He says ثم الرقى. رقى, it is جمع رقية. It is the plural of ruqya, and ruqya, it means cure. Ruqya, it means cure. And ruqya, it can be from, as he says, min humatin aw aynin, from sting of a snake or a scorpion. Aw aynin, ayn is here meant and refer to evil eye. Ayn here, it refers to evil eye. Then comes, he says, ruqya from sting or evil eye. فَإِن تَكُن مِّن خَالِصِ الْوَحْيَيْنِ. If the ruqya, it is in accordance to the wahyain, the kitab and the sunnah, the two revelations, the kitab and the sunnah. فَذَاكَ مِنْ هَدِي النَّبِيِّ وَشِرْعَتِهِ وَذَاكَ الْاخْتِلَافَ فِي سُنِّيَّتِهِ. Then that is from the guidance of the Prophet and his Sharia. وَذَاكَ الْاخْتِلَافَ فِي سُنِّيَّتِهِ, and that is something on which there is no difference on it being his sunnah. He says, أَمَّا الرُّقَى مَجْهُولَةُ الْمَعَانِ فَذَاكَ وَسْوَاسٌ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ. As for the ruqya, which is majhulatul ma'ani, which has meaning that is unknown, then it is waswasu min ash-shaytan, then it is from the whispers of shaitan. So tamima and ruqya, these are two things through which people seek protection and cure. And the difference between ruqya and tamima is that ruqya is what is recited, and tamima is whatever is hanged. Tamima, it is whatever is hanged or whatever is an object. Whatever is hanged or whatever object. That is tamima. So whatever you recite, he says, to seek protection from sting or evil eye, if it is from the wahyain, if it is the ayat of Kitab Allah, or it is from the adiyah and the azkar in the proven authentic ahadith of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then that is definitely no doubt of it being sunnah, no doubt that it is correct for you to do it. But if you recite something ammaruka majhulatul ma'ani, those, if you recite those things which you do not know, you do not know what it even means, فَذَاكَ وَسْوَاسٌ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ, then that is waswasu min ash-shaytan, that is from the whispers of shaitan. And this is a very important qaida to remember with regards to ruqya, that anything that you recite seeking protection and you do not even know its meaning, then that is from the whispers of shaitan. وَفِيهِ قَدْ جَاءَ الْحَدِيثُ أَنَّهُ شِرْكٌ بِلَا مِرْيَةٍ فَاحْذَرَنَّ إِذْ كُلُّ مَنْ يَقُولُ لَا يَدْرِي لَعَلَّهُ يَكُونُ مَحْضَ الْكُفْرِ أَوْ مِنْ سِحْرِ الْيَهُودِ مُقْتَبَسٍ أَوْ الْعَوَامِ لَبَّسُوهُ فَالْتَبَسَ. This is again a important shart for ruqya being correct. He says وَفِيهِ قَدْ جَاءَ الْحَدِيثُ أَنَّ, and with regards to it, the hadith has come that it is shirkum bila miryatin fahdaranna, because there is a hadith where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, inna ruqa wa tamaimu wa tiwalatu shirka, inna ruqa wa tamaim wa tiwala shirka. So what it refers to is the ruqya that is majhulatul ma'ani, that is majhulatul ma'ani, the meanings are unknown. He goes on to explain why it is shirk. He says, is kullu man yaqulu la yadri la'allahu yakunu mahd al-kufri, because everything that you read, recite seeking protection, that you do not know, it might be absolute 100% pure kufr. So you might be reciting words which are actual kufr. أو هو من سحر اليهود مقتبس أو على العوام لبسوه فالتبس. أو هو من سحر اليهود, or it might be from the magic of the Jews. مقتبس, meaning مقتبس يعني اقتباس. اقتباس means to borrow. Or it might be the words of the Jew magicians, and Jews are well known magicians even today. They are well known for magic. أو هو من سحر اليهود مقتبس على الأوام لبسوه فالتبس. For the people, the general people, they do not understand, they do not differentiate, so they take whatever comes to them. So don't go for these ruqyas which you do not know even their meaning. He says فحذر الأمة فحذر ثم حذار منه لا تعرف الحق وتنع عنه. He says, so the Prophet ﷺ, he warned the ummah, فحذر, so be warned, فحذرا ثم حذار منه, be warned and be warned, لا تعرف الحق وتنع عنه, know the truth and stay away from it. Tana means to leave. So ruqya, it has 3 shurut for it being correct. The first shart, it is that أن تكون من الكتاب والسنة أو على أصولها. أن تكون من الكتاب والسنة أو على أصولها, that it be from the kitab, the kitab of Allah Azza wa Jal, or from the sunnah, or what agrees with its meaning. So you can recite any of the ayat or any of the adiyah which are proven from the Prophet. Or you can say, you can use your own wordings. For example, you say Allahumma shfini, Allahumma shfini, Allahumma shfini. Now it's not proven exactly like this that you say, but since the meaning itself is correct and is not contradictory to the Kitab or Sunnah, then it is perfectly fine for you to use it as ruqya. And the second shart is أن تكون اللغة مفهومة وأن يكون في اللغة العربية, that it be understood, مفهومة, that it should be understood whatever you're reading, and it should be in Arabic. It must be in Arabic. It should not be in any other language other than Arabic. So that is how ruqya would be acceptable. So just like the ruling for the adhkar generally, the same is applied for the ruqya, because in ruqya you're doing dhikr actually. So dhikr has to be in Arabic. And the third condition is أن يعتقد أنها سبب من الأسباب لا تأثير لها إلا بإذن الله. أن يعتقد أنها سبب من الأسباب لا تأثير لها إلا بإذن الله. That you believe that it is from the causes of help, from the causes of help of Allah Azza wa Jal. So Allah helps the one who does ruqya shar'iyya. It's not the ruqya itself that helps. It is Allah who helps the one who does ruqya shar'iyya. So these are the three conditions of ruqya being correct. He says وفي التمائم المعلقات إن تكو آيات مبينات فالاختلاف واقع بين السلف فبعدهم أجازها والبعد كف. He says that as for the tamaim which are hanged, the tamaim, the amulets which are hanged, إن تكو آيات مبينات, if these are ayat from the Kitab of Allah, فالاختلاف واقع بين السلف, then there is difference of opinion among the Salaf. فبعدهم أجازها والبعد كف. So some of them they permitted it and some of them prohibited it. Some of them permitted it and some of them prohibited. And this is true that the Salaf they differed with regards to the Quranic amulets. There are those who permitted it and there are those who prohibited it. And the correct opinion is that it is prohibited. And the correct opinion is that it is prohibited. And the reason for its prohibition is that the Prophet ﷺ, he said, إِنَّ الرُّقَى وَالتَّمَائِمُ وَالتِّوَلَةَ شِرْكٌ. Al-Ruqa, Wat-Tamaim, Wat-Tiwala, three of them are shirk. The Prophet ﷺ himself, he said it. Now when he is telling everything, all types of ruqya, all types of tamima and all types of tiwala, it is all shirk. Then we don't have the right to say that there is a form of ruqya that is not shirk and there is a form of ruqya which is shirk, and that there is a form of tamima that is shirki and there is a form of tamima which is not shirki. We don't have the right to say unless and until we get a proof that there is a form of ruqya which is not shirk, and that there is a form of tamima that is not shirk, and that there is a form of tiwala that is not shirk. Because if the statement of the Prophet is general, we leave it general. We do not say, no, this is specific or this is with regards to this only and not that. When the Prophet ﷺ is generalizing, we generalize. When the ayat of Allah are general, we interpret it generally and we do not specify to any specific situation or scenario or a time or a place. So as for ruqya, we have a proof from the Prophet ﷺ when a sahabi, he went to the Prophet and he said that he did ruqya by reading this and this. The Prophet ﷺ told him, لا بأس بالرقى ما لم تكن شركا. لا بأس بالرقى ما لم تكن شركا. There is no problem with ruqya as long as it is not shirk. There is no problem with ruqya as long as it is not shirk. So as long as it is not shirk, there is no problem with ruqya. This is permission from the Prophet ﷺ himself. But as for tamima, the amulets, we have no specific permission from the Prophet ﷺ. So we don't have the right to specify or to exclude anything that the Prophet ﷺ himself did not exclude. So that is why the general ruling on tamima will remain even on the Quranic amulets as well, that they are prohibited. And to those scholars who say that it is permitted, we respond with three answers. We respond by three answers. The first one is due to umum al-adilla, due to the general adilla, and that is what I just mentioned, that the hadith, they are general in ruqa wa tamaimu wa tiwala shirk. So you keep it general. And the scholars of Wusool, they say ولا يجوز تخصيص العموم إلا بدليل صريح لأن التخصيص نوع من التشريع لأن التخصيص نوع من التشريع. And the second one which we answer is تبديل بما هو خير, because when you use tamima, even if it is Quranic amulets, you are doing tabdeel, you are changing and replacing something that is not even proven by that what is proven. And this action is not something good. The Prophet ﷺ, it is proven that he used to do ruqya. He did ruqya on himself, for his family, for other people. The Sahaba, it is proven, all of them, that they did ruqya. That is something agreed upon. Then you want to do tamima, you want to hang this amulet in spite of knowing what is better. So why don't you do ruqya instead? And Allah Azza wa Jal, He said in the Quran, أَتَسْتَبْدِلُونَ أَدْنَى بِالَّذِي هُوَ خَيْرٌ. You know, when the Yahud, they ask for onions and potatoes and garlic instead of manna wa salwa, Allah Azza wa Jal told them, أَتَسْتَبْدِلُونَ أَدْنَى بِالَّذِي هُوَ خَيْرٌ. So the same applies in this scenario as well. And the third answer is saddu zariya. The third answer is saddu zariya, that it is to block the ways, the path to shirk, to block the path to shirk. And that is because a lot of people, when they hang these amulets, they think that it is Quranic amulet, but they don't even know that it is not even Quranic. But they don't even know that it is not even Quranic. And when I was in Malaysia, I found a lot of amulets in a lot of places. When I was living in Desiree especially, a lot of people, they had amulets, and the Malaysians themselves, I asked them to remove the amulets, and they said it is Quranic amulets. I was like, I'm interested just to see what is inside. I was not harsh with them, with these people. I was just, as a friend, I would ask them, let me just see what is inside, and they would allow me as a friend. And when I opened them, a lot of times what turned out is that it was not even Quran inside, it was rubbish inside. The person, he thought that this is a Quranic amulet. Actually, he did not even know what is inside. So this is what happens with the juhal. They are fooled by the people in the name of Quranic amulets today in the markets of the people of innovation. So this is how the magicians work. They fool the people in the name of Quranic amulets. So that is why, to block the path to shirk, it is necessary that we prohibit even the Quranic amulets. So these are the 3 points with which we answer those scholars who say that it is permitted. So the Shaykh, he says, وَإِن تَكُن مِمَّا سِوَى الْوَحْيَيْنِ فَإِنَّهَا شِرْكٌ بِغَيْرِ مَيْنِ بَلْ إِنَّهَا قَسِيمَةُ الْأَزْلَامِ فِي الْبُعْدِ أَنْ سِيمَاءُ لِلْإِسْلَامِ. He says that if it is the tamaim, the amulets, if they are from other than the wahyain, the 2 revelations, فَإِنَّهَا شِرْكٌ بِغَيْرِ مَيْنِ, then it is all shirk without any doubt. بَلْ إِنَّهَا قَسِيمَةُ الْأَزْلَامِ, in fact it is قَسِيمَةُ الْأَزْلَامِ. قَسِيمَةُ الْأَزْلَامِ, it is, Allah said in the Quran that Azlam, it is prohibited. إِنَّهَا لَفِسْقٌ, it is fisq. And fisq here, it was interpreted by the Sahaba as shirk. A lot of places where the word fisq comes in the Quran, it refers to shirk, not fisq itself, by that what we know. So Qasimatul Azlam, it is the arrows which the people used to use to make a decision. So they used to take an arrow which was triangular in shape. So it has 3 corners. On one corner it would be do this action, and on the other corner it would be don't do it, and the third corner it would be try again. So on the first corner it is do it. So they would spin it, and if it would turn out to do it, so they would decide that they would be doing the action, and that is the right thing to do, and going against it is not right. This was their belief. And if it would come out don't do it, they wouldn't do it. They would stay away from that action. They would think that if they were to do something, evil would occur. And try again, meaning try spinning it once again. So if that would turn out, they would spin it once again and see what the answer comes out. So it is similar to Azlam. Fil bu'di an sima ulil Islami. So it is way away from the path of the people of Islam. Yes, for us.
فصل من الشرك فعل من يتبرك بشجر أو بحجر أو ب وديت اسمه
بقعة
أو بقعة أو قبر أو نحوها يتخذ ذلك المكان عيدا وبيان أن الزيارة تنقسم إلى سنية
بدعية
وشركية.
Yes, the poet rahimahullah, he says فصل من الشرك فعل من يتبرك بحجر أو شجر أو بقعة أو قبر أو نحوها يتخذ ذلك المكان عيدا وبيان أن الزيارة تنقسم إلى سنية وبدية وشركية. He says that this chapter, it is about one of the types of shirk, as he says من الشرك فعل من يتبرك بحجر, that is seeking blessings from hajar, from stones, and shajar, the trees, or buqa, or holy lands, or qabr, or the graves, or nahviya, or things similar to it. يتخذ ذلك المكان عيدا, taking that place as a place of festival, as a place of regular visit. وبيان أن الزيارة تنقسم إلى سنية وبدية وشركية, and that in this chapter would be clarification that ziyarah, visiting the graves, are of 3 types. So the first being that what is sunnah, the second being that what is bid'ah, and the third being shirk. Few people visit the graveyards and the graves and they follow the sunnah, everything that is sunnah. And the second category of people is of those who go there but they add extra things to the deen, and therefore this type of ziyarah is classified as ziyarah bid'iyah. And the third being shirkiyah. So some people they visit the graveyards and they commit shirk. He says رحمه الله هذا ومن أعمال أهل الشرك من غير ما تردد أو شك ما يقصده الجهال من تعظيم ما لم يأذن الله بأن يعظم كمن يلذ ببقعة أو حجر أو قبر ميت أو ببعد الشجر متخذا لذلك المكان عيدا كفعل عابد الأوثان. He says رحمه الله هذا ومن أعمال أهل الشرك, this and from the actions of people of shirk من غير ما تردد أو شك, without any question or doubt and confusion. ما يقصده الجهال من تعظيم ما لم يأذن الله بأن يعظم, what few people they glorify and revere some things. Few ignorant people they glorify and revere some things more than what Allah has made permissible. They glorify in such a way that Allah has given no permission of. كمن يلذ ببقعة أو شجر كمن يلذ ببقعة أو حجر أو قبر ميت أو ببعد الشجر. He says that like those who seek refuge, seek help from holy lands or stones or graves of the dead people, or ببعد الشجر, or some trees, متخذا لذلك المكان عيدا كفعل عابد الأوثان, taking that place as a place of visit and celebration and worship, كفعل عابد الأوثان, like the action of the worshippers of the idols. So he introduces this chapter by saying that there are those from the people of shirk, the people of ignorance, they seek refuge and help and blessings from these things, although there is nothing in the Sharia to prove this, that you seek blessing from a certain grave of a certain wali or from a stone or a tree or a holy land. This is all not proven from the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He says متخذا لذلك المكان عيدا كفعل عابد الأوثان. They take these places which they glorify and they visit there regularly. Whatever repeats, it is Eid. But in the istilah, Eid is a time or a place of celebration or worship. So any place that is being visited time after time and it is done out of glorification, then that place will be considered Eid. And if any time, like a day or a minute or a month or a week or an hour, any time it is taken as a special time and you give it special reverence and you do something out of its glorification or you do something special in this time, then you have taken that time as Eid. And the Prophet of Allah ﷺ said, don't take my place as Eid, my grave as Eid, meaning don't visit my grave regularly with the intention of worship. Meaning there are those people who would be visiting the graves of the Prophet again and again and again. So the Prophet said, don't make it a Eid, don't make it as a place of worship where you come and worship Allah Azza wa Jal. Worship in the masajid, but not my grave. So don't take my place as Eid. And Eid, it is defined as ما اعتيد قصده من زمان أو مكان على وجه التعظيم. ما اعتيد قصده من زمان أو مكان على وجه التعظيم. Whatever is intended, be it time or place, out of reverence and glory. So whatever you consider special, be it time or place, to celebrate that time or celebrate that place, then that is what is Eid. And the festivals, the Eids, you cannot come up with an Eid of yourself, that let us take this time as Eid, let us take this time as a time of remembrance. So for example, a day from the year on which you would, for example, pray 2 rakahs of salah. You cannot do this. A day on which, for example, you would celebrate. You cannot do this. You cannot take any day by yourself. You have no right. A day on which you would thank your mom, Mother's Day, or Father's Day, or Teacher's Day. All this, none of it is permissible. And the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he went to Medina, he found the people celebrating, and among those festivals was also Nowruz, the festival of Nowruz. And when he saw them celebrating this festival, he said, Allah has replaced for you with what is better, and that is Eid al-Adha and Eid al-Fitr. He prohibited them in spite of the fact that Nowruz, it was just a cultural festival of the Persians. Nowruz, it was in celebration of the Persian New Year. So the Persian calendar that the Persians have, every year at its beginning they would celebrate the first day of the year. It was just a cultural festival, but yet the Prophet ﷺ, he prohibited it. He did not say, as few people say, that Nowruz is just a cultural festival, so you can celebrate it, or any such thing. He did not differentiate between a cultural and a religious festival. And in the Persian language, it's very close to our Urdu language, so Nowruz, it is Naya Roz, meaning a new year. Naya Din, Naya Roz, new year. It was just a cultural festival of the Persians, not a religious festival. Anyone who knows the Persian history would know this. They used to celebrate the festival of Nowruz and the festival of Maharjan and other festivals. So the Prophet ﷺ prohibited them from that festival, because first of all, that is not something for which permission was granted by Allah Azza wa Jal. And secondly, Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, he said, the explanation of the ayah, لِكُلِّ أُمَّةٍ جَعَلْنَا مَنْسَكٍ, for every ummah we have made mansak, rituals. Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu said, mansak ay Eid. Mansak, rituals, meaning Eid. What this ayah means is Eid. For every ummah, yani Allah has assigned ayad, Eids, festivals to celebrate and to worship. So this is the sole right of Allah Azza wa Jalla and no one else. Is the poet rahimahullah, he says ثم الزيارة على أقسام ثلاثة يا أمة الإسلام فإن والزائر فيما أدنره في نفسه تذكرة بالآخرة ثم الدعاء له وللأموات بالعفو والصفح عن الزلات ولم يكن شد الرحال نحوها ولم يكن هجرا كقول السفهاء فتلك سنة أتت صريحة في السنن المثبتة الصحيحة أو قصد الدعاء والتوسل به من الرحمن جل وعلا فبدعة محدثة ضلالة بعيدة عن هدي ذي الرسالة وإن دعا المقبور نفسه فقد أشرك بالله العظيم وجحد لن يقبل الله منه صرفا ولا عدلا فيعفو عنه إذ كل ذنب موشك الغفران إلا اتخاذ الند للرحمن. He says rahimahullah, and coming to ziyarah, visiting the graveyard and its categories, it is of three types. Ya Ummat al-Islam, O the people of Islam, the people of the deen of Allah, فَإِنَّ وَالزَّائِرُ فِيمَا أَضْمَرَ. Beginning with the first one, he says, if the zair, if the visitor, he keeps in himself فِيمَا أَضْمَرَهُ فِي نَفْسِهِ, what he kept in himself, what he intends, تذكرة بالآخرة, reminder of آخرة, ثم الدعاء له وللأموات بالعفو والصفح عن الزلات, and dua, the prayer for himself and the dead ones, بالعفو والصفح عن الزلات, with prayer of forgiveness of mistakes, ولم يكن شد الرحال نحوها ولم يكن هجرا كقول السفهاء, and he avoids traveling, he does not go out of the way, travels to the graveyard. ولم يكن هجرا كقول السفهاء, and does not says hujr. Hujr is al-qabih min al-qawl, it is anything unsuitable, anything incorrect, wrong. ولم يكن هجرا كقول السفهاء, and does not says hujr, anything unsuitable like the stupid ones. فتلك سنة أتت صريحة في السنن المثبتة الصحيحة, then this is the sunnah that has come clearly and established in the books of hadith and sunnah. So this is the first category, and this is the correct and the sunnah method of visiting the graveyards. That is, you visit to remind yourself of the hereafter, because when a person he visits the graveyard, he reminds himself that he has to reach this place one day, and he goes there with the intention of making dua for himself and the people buried there, the dead ones, for forgiveness of their sins. Then it is fine, as it has come in the sunnah that the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he would say assalamu alaikum ahl diyari min al-mu'minin wal muslimin wa yarhamullahu al-mustaqdimina minna wal mustaakhirin wa inna insha'allahu bikum lahiqun. You send peace upon them and then make dua of mercy of Allah Azza wa Jal, and wa inna insha'allahu bikum lahiqun, and we shall by the will of Allah join you. وَإِنَّا إِنْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ بِكُمْ لَحِقُونَ. So فَفِيهَا تَذْكِرَةٌ بِالْآخِرَةِ. You visit the grave and you remind yourself that this is the final destination, then it is completely fine. And you visit it to pray for them, for their forgiveness, it is fine. And this is what the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did for his mother. So he used to visit the graveyard of his mother and used to ask forgiveness and used to ask for her forgiveness from Allah Azza wa Jal, until Allah stopped and prohibited him from making dua for her. So he stopped making dua for her because she was a disbeliever. And the disbelievers, they are not supposed to be made dua if they died on shirk and kufr. So the Prophet stopped making dua for her and her forgiveness, but he continued visiting the graveyard in remembrance of his mother. And it is proven that Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he went to the grave of the female servant who used to clean the mosque in Medina. After she passed away, he went and made dua for her. And it was proven that Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he used to visit the graveyard that was there in Medina of the Shuhada of Uhud, and he used to go there and make dua for their forgiveness regularly. So this is what is proven, that you visit the graveyards to remind yourself of the hereafter and to seek forgiveness for those buried there. Because when you visit them, you feel being close to them and you get into an emotional state, and the dua that comes, it comes from your heart. So this is something that is established sunnah. If you don't travel, because traveling to other than the three mosques, it is prohibited. Traveling is permissible only for Masjid al-Haram and Masjid al-Nabawi and Masjid al-Aqsa. For other than these three, it is not permissible. So we are not supposed to travel to another mosque. Then how about traveling to another graveyard? And he says, second category, فتلك سنة أتت صريحة في السنن المثبتة الصحيحة أو قصد الدعاء والتوسل بهم إلى الرحمن جل وعلا فبدعة محدثة ضلالة بعيدة عن هدي ذي الرسالة. He says, if he intends dua والتوسل, if he intends dua, and dua يعني if he intends worship, dua بمعنى عبادة, if he intends to go there to worship Allah Azza wa Jal, like he intends to go there to perform salah or to do dhikr or to do i'tikaf, and he goes there and sits there and recites the Quran or anything as such, or he does tawassul, that is, he goes there to graveyard of a noble person and he says, "Oh Allah, I ask you by the status of so and so, I ask you by the virtue of so and so that you give me this and this, or that you protect me from this and that." So this is tawassul bijah, tawassul, intercession by the status, the virtue of any specific person. Then this is, as he says, fabid'atun muhdasa, then it is innovation, something that is not proven from the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and thus it is a deviance. فَبِدْعَةٌ مُحْدَثَةٌ ضَلَالَةٌ بَعِيدَةٌ عَنْ هَدْيِ ذِي الرِّسَالَةِ. It is far away from the method and the guidance of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he never used to sit at the graveyards to make dua. Each thing has a time and a place. Masajid have been assigned for the worship of Allah, and the graveyards are there for the burial of the people. So if a person goes there to worship Allah Azza wa Jal, then that is a bid'ah. And tawassul, if a person wants to intercede Allah Azza wa Jal, then let him intercede by his names, the names and attributes of Allah Azza wa Jal, or let him intercede by the good deeds that he has done in the past. But it is not permissible, not proven, that you intercede Allah Azza wa Jal by the status and virtue of any noble person. Throughout the Quran and the Sunnah, you would find the Prophet and the Sahaba and the previous prophets they would make dua to Allah by mentioning His beautiful names and noble attributes, and they would intercede by their good deeds that they have done in the past, but you wouldn't find them interceding by the virtue or status of any person. And when the Prophet was alive, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they would ask him for praying to Allah for rain. And when he passed away, they would go to his uncle Abbas and ask him to make dua. So it is permissible that you ask someone to make dua to Allah if you think that he's a noble person and Allah would listen to his dua. Then that is all fine, but to ask Allah by the virtue or status or someone, then that is neither proven nor permissible. Because in the ibadat, in the acts of worship, whatever is not proven, it is not permissible. The Prophet had come to teach us ibadat, to teach us how to worship Allah and how to please Him. If it was on us to decide how to do what to do, then the Prophet would have not been sent. So it is not permissible for us to dig up a way, a method of worship which is not proven from the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then he says, وَإِنْ دَعَ الْمَقْبُورَ نَفْسَهُ. The third category, the category of shirk, is when you make dua to the maqboor, the buried one, that you pray to the one who is buried. فَقَدْ أَشْرَكَ بِاللَّهِ الْعَظِيمِ وَجَحَدَ. فقد أشرك بالله العظيم وجحد لن يقبل الله تعالى منه صرفا ولا عدلا فيعفو عنه. He says, if that is done, if you pray to the buried one, you seek help from him and you make dua to him, then this is shirk akbar. لن يقبل الله منه صرفا ولا عدلا فيعفو عنه. Allah will not accept from him sarf, anything that is voluntary, and adl, anything that is obligatory. Sarfa wala adla, neither your voluntary deeds, nawafil, nor the wajibat. Allah is not going to accept neither your voluntary actions of worship nor your obligatory actions of worship, fayafu anhu, nor would He forgive. إذ كل ذنب موشك الغفران إلا اتخاذ الند للرحمن. Because every sin you can hope forgiveness from Allah, but for shirk it is exceptional. You do shirk and you die upon it, there is no chance of forgiveness. Few people, they go and make dua to the buried ones by saying, oh so and so, ask Allah to give us, for example, a baby, a child. Now this person, he has committed shirk al-akbar, even though he is asking the buried one to make dua to Allah. he is actually making dua to the one in the graveyard as well. So, irrespective of whether he says, "Oh, so and so, give me a baby, grant me a child," or he says, "Oh, so and so, ask Allah to grant me a child," both are equivalent, both are equally shirk. Shirk al Akbar, Kharij min Millah, which removes out the person from the fold of Islam. Allah says, وَمَن يَدْعُ مَعَ اللَّهِ إِلَهًا آخَرَ. The one who calls along with Allah some other God, anyone else, لا برهان له, for which he has no proof, فإنما حسابه عند ربه إنه لا يفلح الكافرون. And Allah says, وَمَنْ أَضَلُّ مِمَّنْ يَدْعُ مِنْ دُونِ اللَّهِ مَنْ لَا يَسْتَجِيبُ لَهُ إِلَى يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ وَهُمْ عَنْ دُعَائِهِمْ غَافِلُونَ. And Allah says, وَلَقَدْ أُوحِيَ إِلَيْكَ وَإِلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكَ لَئِنْ أَشْرَكْتَ لَيَحْبَطَنَّ عَمَلُكَ وَلَتَكُونَنَّ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. Then the poet goes on to the next chapter rahimahullah by saying فصل في بيان ما وقع فيه العامة اليوم مما يفعلونه عند القبور وما يرتكبونه من الشرك الصريح والغلو المفرط في الأموات. He says ومن على القبر سراج أوقد أو ابتنى للضريح مسجدا فإنه مجددا جهارا لسنن اليهود والنصارى كم حذر المختار أن داول عن فاعله كما روى أهل السنن بل قد نهى عن ارتفاع القبر وأن يزاد فيه فوق الشبر وكل قبر مشرف فقد أمر بأن يسوى هكذا صح الخبر وحذر الأمة عن إطرائه فغرهم إبليس باستجرائه فخالفوه جهرة وارتكبوا ما قد نهى عنه ولم يجتنبوا فانظر إليهم قد غلوا وزادوا ورفعوا بناءها وشادوا بالشيد والأجر والأحجار لا سيما في هذه الأصار وللقناديل عليها أوقدوا وكم لواء فوقها قد أقدوا ونسبوا الأعلام والريات وافتتنوا بالعاقم الرفات بل نهروا في مسوهها النحائر فعل أولي التصيب والبحائر والتمسوا الحاجات من موتاهم واتخذوا إلههم هواهم قد صادهم إبليس في فخاخه بل بعضهم قد صار من أفراخه يدعو إلى عبادة الأوثان بالمال والنفس وباللسان فليت شعري من أباه ذلك وأورث الأمة في المهالك فيا شديد الطول والإنعام إليك نشكو محنة الإسلام. The Shaykh rahimahullah, he mentioned in his Sharh of Sullam الوصول, the book Ma'arij al-Qubul, he mentioned that the previous chapter, it was an introduction to this chapter. So in the previous chapter he mentioned that going to the graves and visiting them, it is permissible in certain cases and that it is prohibited in others. And he divided that into three categories: Sunniya, Bid'iyya and Shirkiyya. And in this chapter he went on to give some examples of the innovations and the acts of shirk that the people do at the graves and the graveyards. So he named in the chapter by saying فصل في بيان ما وقع فيه العامة اليوم مما يفعلونه عند القبور. Chapter on mention of what the people do today in the graveyards وما يرتكبونه من الشرك الصريح والغلو المفرط في الأموات, and that they commit clear, explicit shirk and how they exaggerate extremely in revering the dead ones. He says وَمَنْ عَلَى الْقَبْرِ سِرَاجٍ أَوْقَدَ أَوْ ابْتَنَى لِلضَّرِيحِ مَسْجِدًا. He begins by giving examples of exaggeration. A few people, they think that there is no exaggeration in reverence and respect. I was once watching a TV debate on a Pakistani news channel. In Pakistan news channels, they have debates between the Ahl Bidah, and then there are discussions, TV talks between Ahl Bidah and the Sunnah. And the Sheikh of the Ahl Bidah, he said that there is no limit in respect. What do you mean by limits of respect? There is no limit in love, and there is no limit in reverence of noble people. They deserve our maximum. So the Sheikh, he replied saying that how can you say these things? How can you say that there is no limit while you know that this has been clearly prohibited in the text of the Quran and the Sunnah? Revering the dead people. We know that Lat, Manat, Uzza, and the other gods who the people of Quraysh used to worship, and the gods at the time of Nuh alayhi salam, all these were noble people who used to exist and worship Allah apparently, and when they died, their children began respecting them, and first they began to sit at the graves to remember, and then they began making photos, and then as generations passed, they made idols in respect, and then they began asking for help. So this went gradual in stages. In gradual stages, it went to the level of shirk. So the people of Bidah, they are ignorant people who play with the emotions of the people by claiming that there is nothing like ghulu in respect, and in the name of love they do whatever they like to do. And the definition of a ghulu in istilah, it is mujawazatul haddul ma'duni, mujawazatul haddil ma'duni فيه على وجه الإفراط. مجاوزة الحد المأذون فيه على وجه الإفراط. It is to cross the limits, cross the boundaries, cross the limits that have been made permissible, exceeding the limit that has been made permissible by going too far, by becoming immoderate. خير الأمور وسط الوسيط وشرها الإفراط والتفريط. The best of the matters are the balanced one, and the worst of them are the right and the left extremes. And Imam Malik rahimullah, he said, فخير الأمور السافلات على الهدى وشر الأمور محدثات البدع. So no doubt that there is a limit even in praising the noble people from among the prophets and the Salihin. And we'll be discussing the proofs and the details while explaining the upcoming lines. He says, وَمَنْ عَلَى الْقَبْرِ سِرَاجٍ أَوْقَدَ أَوْ ابْتَنَى عَلَى الضَّرِيحِ مَسْجِدًا. He says, and the one who places lamps on the graves, أَوْ ابْتَنَى عَلَى الضَّرِيحِ مَسْجِدًا, or he makes on the grave a masjid. Darih, it is qabr, it's another word for qabr. أَوْ ابْتَنَى عَلَى الضَّرِيحِ مَسْجِدًا, or he makes a masjid on the grave. فإنه مجدد جهارا لسنن اليهود والنصارى. Then he is a reviver, an open reviver of the actions, of the deviated actions of the Jews and the Christians. they would build mosques over the graves of the noble people. And as in Surah Al-Kahf, لَنَتَّخِذَنَّ عَلَيْهِمْ مَسْجِدًا, that let us take over their grave, the grave of the people of Kahf, let us make a masjid. These were people of shirk. And those who say that this ayah لَنَتَّخِذَنَّ عَلَيْهِمْ مَسْجِدًا can be taken as a proof for building graves over the mosques, then that is a misinterpretation without any doubt, and it can be refuted from 6 angles. The first being that there is nothing clear in the ayah to suggest that this was the statement of the believers, and the second, this statement is the statement of those who were in power. So they said what they said out of their vain desires. The people of power, they say whatever they want. They are people of desires. That is why Allah described them, قَالَ الَّذِينَ غَلَبُوا عَلَى أَمْرِهِمْ, the one who had power in that issue, those who prevailed in the matter. And the third angle of refutation could be that were they correct in what they said, Allah would not describe them those who prevailed in the matter, but He would describe them as those who we guided, or those who were true believers. وَقَالَ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا لَنَتَّخِذَنَّ عَلَيْهِمْ مَسْجِدًا, وَقَالَ الَّذِينَ وَقَالَ الْمُحْسِنُونَ, or something praiseworthy, and not just قَالَ الَّذِينَ غَلَبُوا عَلَى أَمْرِهِمْ. And the fourth one, it is that it is not clear whether they were believers or disbelievers. And Ibn Jarir at-Tabari rahimahullah, he mentioned 2 opinions in it. First, that they were Muslims because masjid is the place of worship of believers and not disbelievers. So the first opinion, the people of first opinion, they said that because the word masjid has come, it means that it were the believers who said this. But the second opinion is that they were disbelievers because building mosque, building a masjid over the grave, it is from the action of those who were cursed by the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the fifth angle is that even if you were to agree for the sake of argument that it was the believers who said this, we also believe that the Sharia of our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam abrogates the previous rulings, the rulings of the Sharia of the previous people. And the sixth refutation, it is that leaving the clear and explicit proofs and getting into unclear proof is action of the hypocrites and those in whose heart is a disease. How can we possibly take this ayah as a proof and leave all other proofs which clearly contradict this baseless interpretation? The Prophet ﷺ, he prohibited the people from performing salah in graveyards, and the only salah that is allowed is Salatul Janazah. And what is interesting, if you were to reflect, is that in this salah there is no sajda. In this salah there is no sajda, nor any ruku. So the Sharia made Salatul Janazah such that no one goes even close to shirk. Then the Shaykh, he goes on to say, كم حذر المختار أن ذا ولعا فاعله كما روى أهل السنن. How many times, how much the Mukhtar, the chosen one, he cursed the doer of such actions, as is narrated by the Ahlul Sunan, the people of Hadith, the authors of Sunan. The Prophet ﷺ said, لعنة الله على اليهود والنصارى اتخذوا قبور أنبيائهم مساجد, as narrated by Imam al-Bukhari and Muslim. Then the Shaykh, he says, بل قد نهى عن ارتفاع القبر وأن يزاد فيه فوق شبر. In fact, he prohibited the people to even raise the level of the grave above one span. To raise the level of the grave above one span. And one span is a unit of measurement from the height of the thumb to the lowest point of the reach of the pinky finger. The Prophet ﷺ, he prohibited that a person raises graveyard of another person above this level, above one span. And in the hadith of Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anh, he said that the Prophet of Allah ﷺ sent him specially on a mission, to go and search the graves which are erected high or have been plastered, that they be broken and brought down to one span. As the poet, he says, وَكُلُّ قَبْرٍ مُشْرِفٍ فَقَدْ أَمَرْ بِأَنْ يُسَوَّى هَكَذَا صَحَّ الْخَبَرِ. And every grave mushrif, murtafi. Mushrif, we normally say for a man in a high position, a supervisor, manager. And mushrif, it is what is high level. وَكُلُّ قَبْرٍ مُشْرِفٍ, and every grave which is erected high. وَكُلُّ قَبْرٍ مُشْرِفٍ فَقَدْ أَمَرْ, he commanded بِأَنْ يُسَوَّى هَكَذَا صَحَّ الْخَبَرِ, that it be brought down to one span, as in the authentic narration. وحذر الأمة عن إطرائه فغرهم إبليس باستجرائه. And he warned the Ummah from itra. And itra, it is to praise someone and lie in it. مجاوزة الحد في المدح والكذب فيه. It is to cross the boundaries in praise and to lie in it. وحذر الأمة عن إطرائه, he warned the Ummah that they praise him by fabricating lies in praise of him, that he was not even a human, he was an angel, that he was not a human, he was in fact the God incarnate. People have these beliefs. وحذر الأمة عن إطرائه فغرهم إبليس باستجرائه. But Iblis, he got them into his trap. باستجرائه, slowly he brought them into his trap. Istidrajan, slowly, gradually, step by step. Then the Shaykh, he says, فَخَالَفُوهُ جَهْرَةً وَارْتَكَبُوا مَا قَدْ نَهَى عَنْهُ وَلَمْ يَجْتَنِبُوا. So they opposed جَهْرَةً وَارْتَكَبُوا, openly, and committed what he prohibited from and did not stay away. They did exactly what he prohibits, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. لَعَنَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ sallallahu alayhi wa sallam أن يجسس القبر, that the grave be plastered. But these people, they did exactly what he prohibited from doing. So the Shaykh says, فَانْظُرْ إِلَيْهِمْ قَدْ غَلَوْا وَزَادُوا وَرَفَعُوا بِنَاءَهَا وَشَادُوا بالشيد والآجر والأحجار لا سيما في هذه الآثار. Look at them, they غلوا, they exaggerated, وزادوا ورفعوا بناءها وشادوا, they increased in their exaggeration by raising the levels of the level of the graves, by raising them and plastering them. بالشيد والآجر والأحجار. Sheed is plaster and ajur, it is liban, it is bricks, the red bricks with which you build the buildings. Wal ahjari, and stones. They build over the graves buildings, and they beautified it with ahjar, with stones. At times they build and beautified it with pure gold, and such things, it increases the love and glory in the heart of the person who visits the grave, because the person who visits the grave and he sees nothing but sand, the fitra opposes that a person would worship him and would prostrate to him. But when all this beautification is done, people forget out of ignorance that this is nothing but sand. He says, La siyama fi hadhihi al-asari, and more so in these times. More so in these times. And the poet, he explained in Marriage al-Qabul by saying that in these times, after the period of the rule of the Ubaydiyun empire, this empire was a Shia Rafidi empire, and they had the biggest hand in spreading grave worship throughout the Muslim lands. They were not successful in making people convert to Shiaism, but they did all what they could do to take people away from the correct belief. They are the ones who started most of the actions which we find today among our brothers who claim to be Ahl Sunnah, Sunnis. The Shaykh, he says, وَلِلْقَنَادِيلِ عَلَيْهَا أَوْقَدُوا وَكَمْ لِوَاءٍ فَوْقَهَا قَدْ أَقَدُوا. And they built lights and lamps, they placed them over it, and they put banners to attract the people, to call the people. وَنَصَبُوا الْأَعْلَامَ وَالرِّيَاتِ وَافْتَتَنُوا بِالْأَعْظُمِ الرُّفَاتِ. He says, and placed a'lam, riyat, banners and boards, inviting the people and calling them towards it and advertising it. وَافْتَتَنُوا بِالْأَعْظُمِ. He says that, and the people, they got into trial, they forgot Allah Azza wa Jal and His power and His kingdom and His mercy and His tawheed for the sake of these dead people, these bones and skeletons. Rufat, dust. Such a pitiful situation is of these people. He says, moving forward, بَلْ نَهَرُوا فِي مسوحها النحائر فعل أولي التصيب والبحائر. He says, in fact, they went on to another step by sacrificing in the graveyards. They would bring the sheep to graveyards of the people who they call awliya, and they sacrifice. في مسوحها يعني مكانها، بل نهروا في مسوحها النهاية. They began sacrificing in these graveyards of the noble people. فعل أولي التسيب والبهائر, just like the action of the people of Tasib and Bahair. Tasib is Saibah and Bahair is Bahira. The people of Tasib and Bahair were the people of Quraysh, the people of ignorance, the people of Jahiliyyah. Allah says in the Quran, مَا جَعَلَ اللَّهُ مِن بَحِيرَةٍ وَلَا سَائِبَةٍ وَلَا وَصِيلَةٍ وَلَا حَامٍ. Sa'id ibn Musayyib, rahimahullah, he said in the explanation of these four, Bahira and Saiba and Wasila and Ham, that Bahira, it used to be a female camel whose milk was spared for the idols and no one was allowed to drink. So that would be Bahira. And Saiba, it was a female camel who used to be let for free pasture for the idols and nothing was allowed to be carried on it. And Wasila is a female camel set free for the idols because it gave birth to female twice continuously, the first and the second time. And Ham, it used to be a male camel. It used to be a male camel set free after it finished a number of copulations assigned for it. So if it was successful in giving a certain number of offsprings, then it used to be set free. So the actions of these people are just like the actions of the people of Jahiliyyah. وَالْتَمَسُوا الْحَاجَاتِ فِي مَوْتَاهُمْ وَالْتَمَسُوا الْحَاجَاتِ مِنْ مَوْتَاهُمْ وَاتَّخَذُوا إِلَهَهُمْ هَوَاهُمْ. And they sought their needs and help and support from the dead people. وَاتَّخَذُوا إِلَهَهُمْ هَوَاهُمْ, and they took their desires as their gods. They did whatever they wanted to do. They took God whoever they wanted to take. These actions which are solely for the sake of Allah, dua and tawassul and glorification and love and fear, shafa'ah, all these rights, they gave it to these dead people, these human beings. The Shaykh goes on to say, قَدْ صَادَهُمْ إِبْلِيسُ فِي فِخَاخِهِ بَلْ بَعْدُهُمْ قَدْ صَارَ مِنْ أَفْرَاخِهِ. قَدْ صَادَهُمْ, he hunted Iblis, he hunted the people in his trap, في فِخَاخِهِ بَلْ بَعْدُهُمْ قَدْ صَارَ مِنْ أَفْرَاخِهِ. In fact, some of them became from his afrakh, from his musa'ideen, from his helpers. How did they help? He says, يَدْعُو إِلَى عِبَادَةِ الْأَوْثَانِ بِالْمَالِ وَالنَّفْسِ وَبِاللِّسَانِ. They began calling the people towards the worship of Awthan. وَالْأَوْثَانُ جَمْعُ وَثَنٍ وَالْوَثَنُ كُلُّ مَا يُعْبَدْ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ. Everything that is worshipped other than Allah is wathan. So they began calling people towards the worship of Awthan with their wealth, all their soul and tongue. So they gave everything that they could, calling people towards the worship of Awthan. Then the Sheikh, he expresses his emotions, his regret, his sorrow by saying فليت شعري من أباح ذلك وأورث الأمة في المهالك. فليت, Layta means I wish. Allah says in the Quran about the kuffar on the day of judgment, they would say Ya laytani kuntu turaba, I wish I was but dust. Layta means I wish. شعرت عرفت, to know. فليت شعري, I wish I knew. A poet, he said in a funny way, يا ليت شعري عن حمار ما صنع, يا ليت شعري عن حمار ما صنع وعن أبي زيد وكم كان اضطجع. Meaning, I am shocked by two things: by what my donkey did, and by how much Abu Zayd he sleeps. So he said this while making fun of Abu Zayd, whoever he was. So yeah, فليت شعري من أباح ذلك. I wish I knew who made all this permissible. وأورط الأمة في المهالك, and entangled, أورط, entangled, trapped. وأورط الأمة في المهالك, and got the ummah into destruction. Mahalik, halak, destruction. And there are a lot of people who brought the ummah of Islam into destruction. The Yahud, the Nasara, and the deviants. They began saying that the issue of Tawheed and all this discussion is not important. Other discussions are more important. They made people get into other discussions and made them forget about the real discussion. So he says, فَيَا شَدِيدَ الطَّوْلِ وَالْإِنْعَامِ إِلَيْكَ نَشْكُو مِحْنَةَ الْإِسْلَامِ. So, O شَدِيدَ الطَّوْلِ وَالْإِنْعَامِ, meaning the owner of abundance, O the one who favors the people with his help. إِلَيْكَ نَشْكُو مِحْنَةَ الْإِسْلَامِ. To you we complain. Nashku is shakwa, complain. إِلَيْكَ نَشْكُو مِحْنَةَ الْإِسْلَامِ. To you we complain what these people have done to Islam. And this is the end of the class. جزاكم الله خير وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد والحمد لله رب العالمين.